Hey all, welcome back to Somi's Chai and Chat. In this episode, we will go over Gandhi's journey to Pretoria in South Africa. Lot of interesting things comes out. Stay tuned. Gandhi comes into contact with many of the Christian Indians living in Durban. He states a lot of names which will be revealed and what happens with those close acquaintances he makes later on. In this, I can see that Gandhi has been a very good storyteller, the way he has written this particular chapter. And while Gandhi was spending time making acquaintances in Durban and widening his network, especially with Indians, he comes into close contact with, apart from Christians, he also mentions few of the Parsi people and Musalmans. To me, it is very interesting that people are being represented by their religion. And in today's world, we hardly think of that, at least living outside. In India, it could be still common to think of a person and immediately connect to which religion they are from. However, here, at least in certain circles that I am familiar with, I could be totally wrong, but certain circles I'm familiar with, I know that we rarely think of the religious aspect. Even when I was studying in Arizona State University, doing my master's, anytime we come across somebody, we think of which country they could be from, but not really the religion of that person. Even with an Indian community, when we come into contact with an Indian, we could think which state they are from rather than which religion they belong to. Or maybe our minds are too occupied thinking Indians from India are all Hindus, which is a totally wrong assumption to make. Coming back to Gandhi's life, Gandhi gets a letter, or Seth Abdulla, he gets a letter from the court saying that they have to go back to Pretoria to for the hearing of their case. And either Seth Abdulla himself has to go or he has to send a representative. Therefore, Abdullah said requests Gandhi to represent him and go to Pretoria. And Gandhi agrees. He is all set to go to Pretoria at this point. Gandhi, before agreeing to go, he mentions that he is not comfortable about the case because he has no idea, no clue about what is the case about. And Seth Abdullah will ask his friends or clerks, to explain to Gandhi about their case. And Gandhi starts studying the case, understanding what all has happened so far so that he can go and represent in Pretoria. When Gandhi starts studying the case, he understands that it is all about bookkeeping. There were credits and debits, a lot of credits and debits that were happening, and there were some issues related to that. And Gandhi was not good or didn't have any idea about bookkeeping at all. And he mentions that how confused and lost he felt, not knowing what P note meant, which was a basic thing in bookkeeping. And finally, he buys a bookkeeping notebook to as a reference to go over it and understand what's been happening. And once he knows, he gets a little bit of practical knowledge as well. He goes to the court, exposes himself to that unknown thing, and slowly he gains confidence. And then he agrees to go to Pretoria to represent Seth Abdulla. Before leaving to Pretoria, Gandhi talks to Seth Abdulla and tells him that not to worry about the case. He will not have any acquaintance with anybody else except keep it things to himself. And Seth Abdulla is, as we saw earlier episode, he is very suspicious of people. But by now, it's been 7 days since Gandhi arrived in Durban, and 7 days, Seth Abdulla knows a bit more about Gandhi by now. And he doesn't think of him as, in quotes, white elephant anymore. That is a very luxurious or a very expensive lawyer with a posh taste. So Seth Abdulla convinces Gandhi not to stay with anybody, or apologizes that he has to stay by himself, and he would want to let or allow Gandhi to stay with his friends, but they would if they get their hands on the paperwork, then it will not be good for the case. Therefore, Gandhi will say to Seth Abdulla not to worry about it, and he'll stay in a hotel if needed and keep it private. But he may get to know people of the other party, because Pretoria was a strong place for Seth Abdullah's opposite case, that the plaintiff who were there. And Gandhi was okay with making acquaintance with people, because his perspective was, if we can solve this within ourselves and do a settlement instead of court deciding it for us, that would be the best outcome. And Seth Abdulla, out of surprise, he agrees to what Gandhi is thinking, and books him a first class ticket to train in the train to go to Pretoria from Durban. It is an overnight train, and Seth Abdulla also books a hotel in Pretoria for him to stay. Gandhi starts getting ready to leave to Pretoria, and Seth Abdulla insists Gandhi, along with his first class ticket, to also get an extra bedding as in a bed to sleep overnight. Gandhi refuses because it cost another extra 5 shillings, and he didn't want to spend that. He was trying to be more economical. However, Seth Abdulla convinces him, or tries to convince him, but Gandhi does not get convinced. He stays what he thinks. He will strongly stick to what he's been thinking. And what happens next is a life-changing incident for Gandhi. It's one of the historical incidents that changed Gandhi's thinking and also knowledge about his own self. We will take that up tomorrow, because it's a long, we need more reflection on that. For today, I would like to ask my listeners to reflect on a scenario when you were assigned a work by somebody else and you have tried to convince your party or your customer or your manager, your boss, your family member, convince them about not to worry about it, and you felt very good internally. Reflect on that, and we will catch up on the historical incident that changed Gandhi in the next episode. Bye bye.